The words hung in the silence like a ghost between us. We're going in a different direction, Emmett from Human Resources said, his eyes fixed somewhere above my head. He cleared his throat. The leadership team believes fresh perspectives will benefit the division. I stared at him. 18 years of loyalty, suddenly worth nothing. My voice remained steady when I finally spoke. And who exactly is taking over my position? Melody Jenkins. She started with us last month in market research. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. The 20-something, who's been here 4 weeks? 28, Emmett corrected, as if that made it better. She has an impressive educational background and brings innovative thinking that aligns with our new strategic vision. I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound that made him flinch. Innovative thinking? I built this division from nothing. Our client retention rate is 98%. What exactly needs innovation? This isn't a performance issue, Renata. He slid a folder across the desk. We're transitioning you to senior advisor. You'll keep your benefits package. We value your institutional knowledge. Institutional knowledge. The words tasted like vinegar. That's what you call 18 years of relationships I've built? The crisis I handled when our biggest client nearly walked? The nights and weekends I missed with my daughter to keep this place running? Emmett's expression remained blank. Professional, practiced. Your new workspace has been prepared. You can move your things today. The next morning, I watched Melody settle into my chair, her manicured fingers trailing along the desk edge as she arranged her belongings. A potted succulent, a framed certificate from her recent MBA program, a motivational calendar. My new workspace sat in the corner, half the size of my old office, with a view of the building's ventilation system instead of the river. The plate on my door reading Division Director had already been changed to Senior Advisor before I'd even arrived. The team meeting started at 9. My team, my people. They filed into the conference room, avoiding my eyes, shoulders hunched with the awkwardness of collective betrayal. Melody stood at the head of the table, my spot, her youth painfully obvious in her nervous posture. Good morning, everyone. Her voice was too bright, too eager. I'm so excited to be leading this amazing team. I've been reviewing our client portfolio and have some thoughts on restructuring our approach. I watched silently as she stumbled through client names. And our work with Mas on Ellie needs a refresh. Masi Nelly, I corrected quietly. They're very particular about the pronunciation. 20 pairs of eyes swung toward me. Melody's smile tightened. Right. Thanks for that, Regina. Renata. Of course. Sorry about that. She laughed nervously. As I was saying, I glanced down as my phone vibrated with an incoming message. The sender name made my heart skip. Dario Massinelli, heir to the Massinelli business empire and my main contact for our largest client. First meeting confirmed. Tuesday, 8 a.m., usual place. Curious about recent changes. I slipped my phone back into my pocket, allowing myself the smallest smile as Melody fumbled through explaining project timelines she clearly didn't understand. My fingers tapped lightly against my thigh, counting down. 3, 2, 1. Excuse me, Jamie from Finance interrupted. But doesn't this timeline conflict with the Massinelli quarterly review? Melody blinked. Well, we can adjust. The Massinelli review requires 6 weeks of preparation. Anna from Analytics added. We always block that time. It's been this way for 7 years. The room grew uncomfortably quiet as Melody shuffled through her notes, finding nothing. This was only the beginning. Before we continue, thank you for taking the time to read this story. If you're enjoying it so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to catch more stories like this one. Your support means everything, and your comments help me know what resonates with you. Now, let's get back to how this corporate nightmare unfolded. My name is Renata Vega. For 18 years, I'd poured everything into building the regional market division of a top consumer insights firm. I had started as a research assistant and climbed to division director through pure determination and strategic brilliance. I knew every client by name. I remembered their children's birthdays. I solved problems before they became disasters. I was 46, with the first silver strands appearing in my dark hair, earned through years of stress and sacrifice. My daughter Zoe had grown up watching me work late nights, miss school plays, and postpone vacations. Just until this project wraps up, I'd always say. The projects never stopped. The signs of my impending removal had been subtle at first. CEO Jerome started bringing Melody to executive lunches without explanation. My meeting invitations disappeared from my calendar. Technical glitch, IT claimed. Projects I'd nurtured were suddenly reassigned for fresh perspective. I should have seen it coming. Jerome had been pushing the company toward a younger image. Digital natives understand today's market, he'd say during leadership meetings, his eyes sliding past me to the younger team members. Never mind that our digital analytics platform was my initiative. After that first humiliating meeting, Melody summoned me to her office, my former office, where she'd already replaced my awards with her framed diplomas. "I need your help understanding the Massanelli account," she said, panic edging her voice. "They've requested a strategic presentation for next week." I nodded, expression neutral. The Massanellas value tradition. They'll expect our standard quarterly review format. "But I wanted to show them my new approach," she said, pulling up a flashy slide deck filled with animated transitions and industry buzzwords. I watched her scroll through it, noting 6 critical errors that would offend our conservative Italian clients. "This is certainly innovative," I said carefully. "You don't like it," she frowned. "It's not about my preferences. It's about what works with this particular client." Her eyes narrowed. "Jerome hired me to modernize things, Renata. The company needs fresh energy." The subtext was clear. "You're obsolete." That night at home, I sat at my kitchen table, laptop open, a glass of wine untouched beside me. Zoe found me there at midnight, still staring at my email. "Mom, are you okay?" I looked up at my 20-year-old daughter, her face concerned. "They replaced me," I said, the words still strange in my mouth, "with someone younger, someone with less experience than you have babysitting." Zoe slid into the chair beside me. "That's insane. You built that place." "Apparently that's the problem. I'm too established." "You mean too expensive and too smart," Zoe said fiercely. "Too intimidating for some insecure CEO." I smiled sadly. "Maybe." Zoe squeezed my hand. "So, what's your plan?" "Plan? Mom, you always have a plan. You're the queen of contingencies, remember?" She pointed to the notebook beside my computer. "What's plan B?" I looked down at the notebook where I'd started jotting ideas. "I'm working on it." "Good," she said firmly, "because you taught me never to let anyone take what's yours without a fight." The next morning, I went back to work early, before most of the team arrived. I sat at my small corner desk, meticulously organizing files when Melody walked in, already looking stressed. "Morning," she said briskly, barely glancing my way. I watched her rush into her office, close the door, and make a frantic phone call. Through the glass, I could see her gesturing, her face tense. At precisely 8:15, my phone lit up with a message from Jamie in finance. "Emergency meeting called. Massanelli threatening to pull account after receiving Melody's new proposal." I tucked my phone away and waited. 3 minutes later, Jerome himself appeared, walking briskly toward Melody's office. "Where's the Massanelli file?" he demanded loudly enough for me to hear. I continued quietly sorting papers, pretending not to notice the crisis unfolding. By 8:30, Jerome emerged from Melody's office and headed straight for my desk. "Renata," he said, his businessman smile firmly in place, "we need your expertise on a sensitive matter." I looked up, expression mild. "How can I help?" "The Massanelli situation. Has there been a misunderstanding with our oldest client?" I asked innocently. Jerome's smile tightened. Melody tried introducing some updates to their service package. "There's been pushback." "That's unfortunate." I maintained eye contact, making him squirm slightly. "We need you in the emergency meeting. You know Dario better than anyone." I nodded, gathering my notebook. "Of course. Happy to help." The conference room was tense when I entered. Melody sat at the head of the table, face pale, Jerome next to her. The speakerphone in the center connected us to Dario Massanelli in Milan. "We have Renata joining us now," Jerome announced to the phone. "Renata?" Dario's voice immediately warmed. "Buongiorno. Finally, someone who understands our business." "Buongiorno, Dario," I replied, slipping into the Italian pleasantries I knew he valued. "Come sta la famiglia?" "How is Sophia's university experience going?" "Brillante. She loves Oxford. She was just asking about your Zoe." I could feel Melody staring at me as I navigated the conversation with ease, gently steering Dario back to his concerns, explaining the miscommunication about his account, and assuring him that his preferred approach would remain unchanged. By the call's end, Dario was laughing. "This is why we trust you, Renata. You understand the value of relationship, of history. After we disconnected, Jerome cleared his throat. Excellent work, Renata. This is exactly why we value you as an advisor. I smiled pleasantly, happy to help. If there's nothing else, I should get back to my transitional duties. As I walked out, I felt Melody's eyes burning into my back. The first move in a long game had been made. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I'd been planning for this possibility for years. Because in this industry, the biggest mistake anyone can make is believing job titles matter more than relationships. Over the next week, a pattern emerged. Melody would announce a sweeping change to our processes. Clients would resist. I would be called in to advise. Client relationships would stabilize. Each time, I was careful to appear helpful but neutral, just doing my job. I would say when Jerome thanked me for salvaging another situation. In reality, I was watching, learning, cataloging every misstep while maintaining detailed notes on all client interactions. The division operated on relationships I had cultivated for nearly 2 decades, connections that existed nowhere in the company's formal documentation because they lived in trust, shared experiences, and personal history. 2 weeks after my demotion, Melody called me into her office. She'd removed my awards shelf and replaced it with a meditation corner, complete with a small fountain. The gentle, burbling water couldn't mask her anxiety. I need the background on the Westerly account, she said without preamble. They're refusing to work with anyone but you. I nodded. Harper Westerly values consistency. Her company was our first major client. I know that, Melody snapped. I read the file. What I need is whatever you know that isn't in the file. I considered her for a moment. Harper's son has autism. She schedules all meetings around his therapy appointments on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She never takes calls between 2 and 4 p.m. She prefers data presented visually, needs time to process information before decisions, and values honesty above all else. Melody scribbled notes frantically. Why isn't any of this documented? It's personal information shared over 15 years of building trust. Not everything belongs in a database. Her eyes narrowed. You've been intentionally keeping information to yourself to make you indispensable. The accusation hung between us. I maintained eye contact, voice even. I've been building relationships the way this business requires. The information has always been available to anyone who asked. Well, I'm asking now, she said, sliding a legal pad across the desk. Write down everything about every client, everything you know that others don't. I took the pad, of course, happy to help with the transition. That evening, I called Harper Westerly from my personal phone. They've got that child running your division? Harper's incredulous voice filled my kitchen. Jerome has finally lost his mind. She's trying her best, I said diplomatically. Her best included sending me a proposal that ignored our entire sustainability initiative, Harper replied. Then she suggested meeting during Ryan's therapy time. When I declined, she asked if I could just skip it this once. I winced. I'm sorry about that. Don't apologize for her. What's really going on, Renata? Why would they sideline you? Fresh perspectives, apparently, Harper snorted. Cheaper perspectives, you mean? Our contract renewal is coming up next quarter. I hope they don't expect the same terms without you at the helm. I made a non-committal sound. I'm still with the company as an advisor. For now, Harper said knowingly. Let me guess, they'll phase out your position once they think they've extracted what they need? The conversation shifted to her son's progress, but Harper's insight lingered. She wasn't wrong. My senior advisor role was clearly temporary, a convenient way to extract my knowledge before discarding me completely. The next morning, I handed Melody my client notes, a carefully curated collection that included everything that was generally known within the team, but omitted the deeper personal connections and insights that made the relationships truly valuable. This is it? Melody flipped through the pages, frowning. The essentials, I confirmed. The rest comes with time and relationship building. She muttered something under her breath that sounded like convenient before dismissing me. That afternoon, our team gathered for the monthly progress meeting. I sat in the back corner, observing as Melody presented her vision for restructuring our client approach. We need to standardize our processes, she announced, displaying a rigid timeline of client interactions. Too much of our current workflow depends on individual relationships rather than scalable systems. Jamie from finance raised his hand. Won't that undermine the personalized service our clients expect? Personalization can be systematized, Melody insisted. We'll create detailed client profiles and protocol libraries. I watched my team exchange glances. They knew what Melody didn't, that our clients valued the human connection above all else. They stayed with us because we remembered their children's names, their preferences, their histories. No database could replicate that. After the meeting, Anna from Analytics lingered by my desk. "This is going to be a disaster," she whispered. "The Kowalski Group specifically told me last week they chose us over competitors because we don't treat them like a transaction." I nodded sympathetically. "Change can be challenging. That's all you have to say?" Anna looked shocked. "You built this approach. You're just going to watch her dismantle it?" I met her eyes calmly. "I'm in an advisory capacity now. Melody has the authority to implement her vision." Anna studied me. "You're planning something." I smiled slightly. "I'm adapting to my new role, just like everyone else." "Right," Anna said, clearly unconvinced. "Well, when this ship starts sinking, I hope you've saved some lifeboats for the rest of us." As she walked away, my phone buzzed with a message from Dario Massanelli. "Meeting request denied. New process not compatible with our expectations. What's happening over there?" I pocketed my phone without responding. The cracks were beginning to show. By the 1-month mark of Melody's leadership, client complaints had doubled. 3 smaller accounts had already announced they were exploring other options. Team morale plummeted as Melody implemented rigid reporting structures that doubled everyone's administrative workload. Jerome started appearing in our department more frequently, his forced smile growing thinner with each visit. I maintained my quiet corner position, diligently completing the increasingly meaningless tasks assigned to me, while watching the division I'd built begin to crumble. "You need to do something," Jamie cornered me in the break room. "Ferguson Hotels is threatening to walk. That's $1 million account. I'm sure Melody has a plan," I replied, stirring my tea. Jamie lowered his voice. "The team is talking. Some are updating their resumes. Anna has an interview next week." That got my attention. "Anna's leaving? Can you blame her?" Melody rejected her analysis methodology and implemented some cookie-cutter approach she brought from business school. The data's garbage now. I frowned. Anna was brilliant, the best analyst I'd ever worked with. Losing her would be a major blow. "What exactly do you expect me to do?" I asked quietly. "I don't know. Something. Anything. You always had a plan." I looked at him steadily. "Plans take time, Jamie. Sometimes you have to let things develop naturally." He shook his head in frustration. "While you're waiting for things to develop naturally, we're losing everything you built." As Jamie walked away, Melody appeared in the break room doorway. "I need you in my office," she said curtly. I followed her, noting the new tension in her shoulders, the slight dishevelment of her usually perfect appearance. The office, my former office, was strewn with papers and open folders. "The quarterly numbers are due tomorrow," she said without preamble. "I can't make sense of the reporting structure." "The structure you implemented 3 weeks ago?" I asked mildly. Her jaw tightened. "The structure that your team is clearly sabotaging. Nothing adds up. The client satisfaction metrics are plummeting, and the revenue projections are worse." I took the report she thrust at me, scanning it quickly. "These aren't signs of sabotage, Melody. They're accurate reflections of what's happening. 3 clients have already reduced their service packages. Ferguson Hotels has indicated they may not renew. Because your team has poisoned them against me." I kept my voice level. "The clients are responding to changes in our approach. The personal touch matters in this industry." The personal touch was holding us back. She slammed her hand on the desk. "We need scalable, repeatable processes that don't depend on individual relationships." Jerome agrees with me. "Then perhaps you should discuss the reporting structure with Jerome." Her eyes narrowed. "You're enjoying this, aren't you? Watching me struggle while you sit in your corner, playing the wise martyr. The division failing proves you right." I set the reports down carefully. "I want the division to succeed. These are my people, my clients, but I'm not in a position to direct strategy anymore." "Then help me fix this," she demanded. I studied her for a moment. "What exactly are you asking?" "And take over the quarterly report. Make it make sense. Show me how to present these numbers without Jerome firing me on the spot." And there it was, the leverage point I'd been waiting for. I nodded slowly. "I'll need access to all the client files again, and I'd like Anna pulled off her current project to assist me." Melody hesitated, then nodded tersely. "Fine, whatever it takes. The presentation is at 10 a.m. tomorrow. As I left her office, I allowed myself a small smile. The chess pieces were moving exactly as anticipated. What Melody didn't realize was that I wasn't playing to win back my old position. I was playing a much longer game. That night, I worked late in the office, long after everyone else had left. With my temporarily restored access, I compiled a comprehensive analysis of division performance, before and after Melody's arrival. The numbers told a stark story that no amount of creative presentation could disguise. Anna joined me around midnight, coffee in hand. "So, we're saving her ass?" "We're doing our jobs," I replied, not looking up from my screen. "You know what I don't understand," Anna said, settling into a chair beside me. "Why aren't you angry? They took everything from you and handed it to someone who's destroying it. How can you just sit there so calmly?" I finally looked up. "Who says I'm not angry?" Anna studied my face. "You're plotting something." "I'm responding strategically to changing circumstances." A slow smile spread across Anna's face. "The quarterly numbers are really bad, aren't they?" "They reflect reality," I said carefully. "And no amount of presentation magic can hide that." I nodded. "Exactly." Anna's eyes widened slightly. "You're letting her fail spectacularly in front of Jerome and the executive team." "I'm helping her present accurate information in a clear format." We worked through the night, creating a presentation that was meticulously accurate, beautifully designed, and absolutely devastating in its clarity. There would be no hiding from these numbers. As dawn broke, Anna looked over our finished work and whistled softly. "This is either going to get you your job back or get you fired completely." I saved the file and sent it to Melody. "Perhaps, but sometimes you have to be willing to risk everything to gain anything worthwhile." What I didn't tell Anna was that the presentation was just one small move in a much larger strategy. A strategy that had been set in motion the very day Jerome had first brought Melody to an executive lunch 3 months earlier. The quarterly presentation unfolded exactly as I anticipated. Melody stood before the executive team, clicking through the meticulously crafted slides Anna and I had prepared. Each graph told the story of a division in rapid decline. Client satisfaction fallen by 37%, new business acquisition down 42%, team productivity metrics showing alarming downward trends. "As you can see," Melody said, her voice growing smaller with each slide, "we're experiencing some transitional challenges." Jerome's face had transformed from mild concern to barely contained fury. "Transitional challenges? This is a nosedive, Melody. What exactly is your plan to reverse it?" She glanced desperately in my direction, where I sat quietly against the wall. I kept my expression neutral, offering neither rescue nor satisfaction. "I've developed a new client engagement framework," she began, pulling up a slide I'd never seen before. "By standardizing our approach across all accounts." "Standardizing?" Victoria, from the executive board, interrupted. "Our competitive advantage has always been customization." "Yes, but customization isn't scalable," Melody argued. "Growth is irrelevant if we're losing existing accounts," Jerome cut in. "Ferguson Hotels is worth $3 million annually. I received a call yesterday saying they're reviewing their options." The room fell silent. Melody's hands trembled slightly as she gripped the presentation remote. "Perhaps Renata has some insights," Victoria suggested, turning toward me, given her history with these accounts. All eyes shifted to my corner. I straightened slightly. "The relationships with our key clients have been built over many years. They value consistency and personal connection. Rapid changes can be unsettling for them." "That's putting it mildly," Jerome muttered. "This is a disaster." Melody's face flushed. "I was brought in to modernize the division. You said we needed fresh perspectives." "Fresh perspectives. Yes. Complete dismantling." "No." Jerome closed his laptop with a snap. "We need immediate damage control. Renata, can the Ferguson account be salvaged?" I paused, letting the question linger just long enough. "Possibly. Damian Ferguson and I have a strong working relationship. I could reach out personally." Jerome nodded briskly. "Do it, today, and review all at-risk accounts." He turned to Melody. "We'll discuss your role after this crisis is contained." As the meeting dispersed, Melody cornered me in the hallway, her voice a harsh whisper. "You set me up. That presentation was designed to make me look incompetent." I met her gaze calmly. The presentation showed accurate data. Nothing more, nothing less. "You're enjoying this, aren't you? Watching me fail so you can swoop in and save the day." I kept my voice low. "I didn't create this situation, Melody. I'm simply responding to it. Her eyes narrowed. This isn't over. I watched her storm away, knowing she was right. This wasn't over, but not in the way she imagined. Back at my desk, I made the call to Damian Ferguson. His gruff voice answered on the second ring. Renata, about time. What the hell is happening over there? Growth pains? I replied smoothly. Nothing that can't be addressed. Your replacement suggested we eliminate the sustainability reporting that's central to our brand identity, he said, then pitched a standardized approach that completely ignores our unique market position. A misunderstanding. I'd like to meet to discuss your concerns personally, he grunted. My concerns are that the person who understood our business is sitting in a corner while some kid dismantles 18 years of partnership. Perhaps we could discuss this over lunch tomorrow? Fine. The usual place. Noon. I hung up and found Jerome hovering nearby. Well? He asked anxiously. He's agreed to meet. I'll handle it. Relief washed over his face. Good. That's good. He hesitated. Listen, Renata, perhaps we were hasty in restructuring your role. Once this situation stabilizes, we should discuss your position. I nodded noncommittally. Of course. For the next week, I moved methodically through our client list, meeting personally with each one, soothing concerns, and rebuilding confidence. The team's mood lightened as accounts stabilized. Melody grew increasingly marginalized, relegated to administrative tasks while I handled client relations. The power shift was subtle but unmistakable. When I spoke in meetings, people listened. When Melody attempted to assert authority, sidelong glances came my way for confirmation. Exactly 17 days after the quarterly presentation, Jerome called me into his office. Melody sat stiffly in one chair. Victoria from the board occupied another. Renata, thank you for joining us, Jerome began, his business smile firmly in place. In light of recent events, we've been reevaluating our organizational structure. I settled into the remaining chair, expression neutral. The board feels we made an error in judgment, Victoria said directly. Your leadership is clearly essential to the division's success. We'd like to reinstate you as division director, Jerome continued. Melody will transition to a supporting role, focusing on internal processes, reporting to you. I let the silence stretch uncomfortably before responding. That's a generous offer. However, I'm afraid I must decline. All three stared at me in shock. Decline? Jerome repeated. But your position, everything would return to how it was before. Not quite everything, I said calmly. My trust in this organization's leadership has been irreparably damaged. Victoria leaned forward. We understand your frustration, but this isn't about frustration, I interrupted. This is about recognizing my value. If that value is only acknowledged during crisis, then perhaps my talents would be better appreciated elsewhere. Jerome's expression darkened. You're threatening to leave? Now? Not threatening. Informing. I pulled a folder from my bag and slid it across the desk. This is my formal resignation, effective immediately. This is ridiculous, Jerome sputtered. You can't just… I can, I said. And I have another announcement. As of yesterday, I've established my own consulting firm. Victoria has already seen my proposal. I turned to her. Isn't that right? Victoria had the good grace to look uncomfortable under Jerome's shocked stare. You approached our board member? Jerome asked incredulously. Actually, she approached me, Victoria admitted, with a very compelling business proposition. I'll be offering specialized consulting services focusing on relationship-based client management, I explained. Victoria recognized the potential value immediately. Jerome's face reddened. This is a conflict of interest. Your contract has non-compete clauses, which apply only to direct competitors in our market space. I finished for him. My firm operates in an advisory capacity across industries. Perfectly legal, my lawyer confirmed it. Your clients will follow you, Melody said quietly, speaking for the first time. You've planned this all along. I turned to her. Not all of them. Only those who value relationship continuity over corporate structure. My firm will be very selective about its clients. Jerome slammed his hand on the desk. This is unacceptable. After everything this company has done for you, after 18 years of dedication, I was discarded without consideration. I corrected him. That clarified my value to this organization perfectly. I stood to leave, then paused. Oh, and you should know, Anna from Analytics and Jamie from Finance have accepted positions with my new firm. They'll be submitting their resignations this afternoon. The silence that followed was deafening. You can fight this, Jerome finally said, voice tight. But you'll lose. We have resources you can't match. I smiled slightly. Resources aren't everything, Jerome. As you're discovering, sometimes relationships matter more. As I walked out, Victoria called after me. We should continue our discussion about that board position. I nodded without turning back. My assistant will schedule it. 3 months later, my firm occupied the top floor of a riverside office building with floor-to-ceiling windows. 12 former teammates had joined me, bringing their expertise and client relationships. Our client roster included 7 major accounts that had followed us from Jerome's company, plus 11 new ones, drawn by our reputation. Melody had been let go within weeks of my departure. Jerome had been forced to take a more active role in division management, something he'd always avoided. On a crisp autumn morning, I sat across from Dario Massinelli at our usual breakfast spot. He raised his espresso in a small toast. "To brilliant strategy," he said with a knowing smile. "When did you first begin planning your exit?" I sipped my tea before answering. The moment I noticed Jerome bringing Melody to executive meetings 3 months before my demotion. A wise business person always recognizes the signs. "And you let the situation deteriorate intentionally?" I simply stepped back and allowed natural consequences to unfold. I corrected. The best revenge isn't orchestrating someone's failure. It's creating your own success from their mistake. Dario laughed appreciatively. "You know, Jerome called me personally last week, offered a substantial discount to return our business to his company. And I told him relationships aren't built on discounts. They're built on trust, consistency, and understanding." He gestured around the bustling cafe. "Like this breakfast we've shared every month for 7 years. My phone buzzed with a message from Zoe. "Ferguson signed the 3-year contract. Celebration dinner tonight?" I smiled, typing back my confirmation before returning to Dario. The most powerful plan B isn't about destruction. It's about creation, building something better from what others failed to value. "A lesson Jerome learned too late," Dario observed. "Some lessons are expensive," I agreed. Outside the window, I could see my new offices, reflecting the morning sun. Inside, my team, my people, were building something remarkable together. Something that valued relationships over rigid processes, experience over youthful innovation, and loyalty over short-term thinking. The view from this side of the river was far better than the one I'd had before. If you've stayed with me to the end of this story, thank you for listening. Sometimes the best revenge isn't what we initially imagine. Not sabotage or public humiliation, but rather creating success on our own terms. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more stories about resilience and strategic thinking in the face of workplace challenges. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had to activate a plan B when life took an unexpected turn? Your experiences matter, and I'd love to hear from you.